All right, friends, how's it going? Zig coming in at the top of the interview. Today I have with me Chris Butler, Ohio rock royalty. This guy was in so many different projects and has done so many different things that the interview is kind of chaotic. We go everywhere, but this guy is a character, and it was a pleasure to talk with him. He played in the band Tim Huey, the Numbers Band, and the Waitresses, who you might have heard their hit song, I Know What Boys Like, as well as with Richard Lloyd from television. And Chris is the real deal, man. He's still in it. He's still going around and doing things to keep the venues open now with the whole pandemic. He's been even to the point with helping house venues. We get into it. Not everyone is taking that level. That's an important spot to look out for. We need the house venues. If not, you don't get the encouragement to go out to the venues. So it's been an absolute honor to talk with Chris. As always, the podcast is mixed by Studio 44 CLE. If you have any audio needs, video, streaming, recording, go to Studio 44 CLE. Hit up Jay.
Studio 44.
And if you guys can like, subscribe, rate, review the podcast on all the podcast platforms. And we're on YouTube now, so if you can hit the like and subscribe button on the YouTube, it helps me keep talking to cool people to share inspiration with you guys. I think that's it. Here we go. Chris Butler.
It just sounds better.
Yeah. No, it definitely does. Definitely. Let me see. How do I don't got a good stand for me.
Hey, there you are.
Hey, nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you too, and thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing this. Like I was saying, I'm trying to stack up some books here. A lot of times when I've been doing the Skype calls, no one wants to do the video aspect of it. But
well, I just want to say hi to somebody, so you know.
I definitely agree.
And your kitty cat's observing everything from her high perch.
They'll be involved eventually.
Oh yeah, good.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, great to meet you, and I'm vaguely familiar with sea level, and that's cool. Well, you know, in the circle of things.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah. No, thanks for looking into it. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
I always got so the band started off. We took that name, we went with it, and then years later, we're like, there's the SEA level. I'm like, oh crap,
right.
You know what I mean? They're a much bigger band. They're pretty good too. Oh man, but yeah, no. So lately, I've been talking to some friends of yours, and like your name kept coming up. And when I usually do one of these interviews, I go pretty deep and look into all the little things I can. And your work kept coming up too. So I was talking with Glenn Morrow and Don Ralph. And
Don Ralph is absolute gem, genius, full-time human. So is Glenn Morrow. I'm flattered that they would mention me. They're really great cats, and I've known them forever. And they do great work and blah blah blah. Glenn, both of them have new records. I just got something from Don Ralph.
Yeah, with it.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
It's so cool.
It's so cool. They're so good. And myself and a lot of people have been in Life in a Blender, and I produced their first album. And in fact, the connection is that Glenn put me together with originally with Life in a Blender, and I've been a roaring fan ever since. And I just think, I mean, where do you begin? There's really, really smart songwriters out there, and thankfully a lot of them are in my circle. And Don is just off the scale. And great players and great friends and great humor. And I don't live in New York anymore, and I don't live in Seattle. So when he does come to New York, I don't see shows anymore. But so I don't know what they're doing now. But he used to do all the shtick and all these gags, and it's just wonderful. Ridiculous, goofy stories and puppets and just I'm not really sure how to. It's performance art, or then it's not. And when I first met him, he had this. He still does have this, perfectly round face. I thought, God, it's the Charlie Brown of rock and roll. I just wanted him to have a big yellow shirt with a zigzag on it. And all right. But yeah, he's been doing this for decades. And Glenn, gosh, good friend, fellow Hobokenite for a long time, and invariably I run a record by him, and he goes, it's really good, but never signs me. But but there's all kinds of connections that interplay, and it's usually, I decided to go with this other thing, and the other thing usually sells like crazy. And if he had picked me, I'm sure it would be in the remainder bin. So his taste is. Unfortunately for me, is usually spot on. So
I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. I mean,
okay,
I'm not going to knock his taste. But I did a deep dive with some of the stuff you just put out. So I don't know. I think that would have sold.
Yeah, you never know. Sure. You never know. Well, thank you. Yeah, so both cats are loom large in my pantheon. I'm grateful to know them. They're inspirational to me.
Well,
so
they say the same about you, my friend.
Well, that's shucks.
Dude, Don, he can write, man. He's nonstop. Have you ever looked at any of the books he's written?
Mm-hmm.
He's got like 50 of them.
I have a couple.
Yeah?
Yes. Yeah. What do you do for a living, Don? I write books. Plural, Yeah, I've got the Schwinn one and a couple others,
nice.
And I know. He's just off the scale. I was on the first blind date, I think, where he met his wife, and
oh, no way.
Yeah, and it was this. Yes, and right, and it was these animations, I believe, from like the early 1900s that were done with insects, and I forget who the creator was. It was just brilliant, and some of them were kind of smutty, and I thought, well, this is interesting. They go on a blind date, and they were eyeing each other, and they hit it off and are still together, which is really cool. This kid is also off the scale.
Yeah, he's got a band going too.
Yeah, and he's an artist, and good stuff.
I think
Big
Leather is the name of his son's band. What was it?
Cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool stuff. I was asking if they were planning to do stuff, and I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they would. Yeah, but oh yes. Now we get into the topic of the middle-aged / late middle-age / early old age rock and roller, and what the hell do you do with yourself? And the answer is usually keep going. What the hell?
Why wouldn't you? That's you get so tunnel vision into doing it. You know what I mean? When you're doing music, it becomes everything, because you have to find all these different ways to make it work. Yes. I mean? You can't like with Don, you can't just play music. You got to do the writing thing too. It's hand in hand. But and like it makes sense. Why would you? I don't think mentally you could rearrange those gears that have grinded out that mental path to go another way. Like, and why would you?
Or stop.
Exactly.
You can't, because it's so much in your genetic makeup at this point. And I don't know about him, but I mean, every once in a while I'll see an entry for a song that's like he was at a songwriter's workshop or group, or he took this class or whatever. And I realized that in my environment, I'm not doing enough to interact with other people. So there's a stimulus there. I mean, I have my friends, we play and blah, blah, blah. But just in terms of developing my oeuvre, he's stimulating me to go, wait a minute, man, isn't it about time he got serious about this thing and took some lessons,
learn those chords,
learn those jazz chords, learn some more music theory, and I mean, I come up with things like brass arrangements or something or string arrangements purpose for something. But truth be told, I don't know the range of the instruments, and I don't know, can this actually be played bowing or whatever? I may like the way it sounds. And I just ran into this. I came up with a brass part for a song, and I go, "Oh, that's cool as hell. It sounds like Stax Volt and everything else." And I realized that, well, you need a special baritone because they're only get the low A note. They're, some of them have it and some of them don't. So there's this mad scramble for the brass guy, the reed guy, to find a baritone that can play this low note. Like, duh, I should know the range of the instruments by now. So anyway, the point is
like right for
school's in. It's time to go back to school and learn something.
Is that what you've been doing with this quarantine?
I'm good. Yeah, hitting the books, witch hitting, and exactly. To be honest, between you and me, it's kind of been great because there are very few distractions, right? It's not like
I feel it.
It's not like I'm being stupid prolific like some people I know, but I'm taking more care to orchestrate things and just try to grow as an artist or whatever. The phrase is, but it's been beneficial to me personally. I don't know how do you feel? I mean, are you just getting together?
I'm with you with it. Like
with your guys. I mean,
I know it's light. You can't really see my face, and I got the pop filter. But like, no, this quarantine, or at least the beginning half of it, because I'm a teacher, and it was all online. I teach adapted music lessons. At a charter school in Parma, in Broadview Heights, and in Olmsted Falls.
Right, I saw you art therapy too, right?
Yep.
Music therapy, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Man. No one ever looks into what I do. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sure.
But
respect.
Thank you. So, to have like a break from everything. So I was doing teaching full time and doing acoustic gigs and doing the full band things and just everything at once, because that's what you do. You're like, the gig's gonna be over. I'm gonna need another gig.
Right.
And so slowly each one stopped, and then it gave me this time, and I developed like this routine of working on stuff I wasn't like proficient with. Like I'm not a keyboard player. I'm not a mandolin player or really good with rolls on the banjo. So I just would hone in and just made that my whole day and just like figured out things and tried to look into writing. Actually, when I was talking to Don, I was cracking open a Mary Oliver metered poetry book called the Rules of the Dance, and just trying to learn how that works and just trying to figure stuff out. And like it's exciting. Like, what about you? What did you dive into?
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, completely. I'm digging into somewhere in my pile here. There's a book of that Andy Partridge wrote about his XTC songs, and just to find out how other writers and composers, come up with things. And there's another great book called Sugar. It's on the.
You're good, man. We can swear.
Okay, all right. It's on my bookshelf about something about what's inside a song and its song descriptions and production techniques. I've got a pile of tape ops behind me I need to catch up on. The recording magazine and tips and tricks, and Pro Tools continues to be a mystery.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So plenty of home. But I see a kitty cat tail. You're right. They're everywhere.
I got two, and one's gonna eventually hop up and join the conversation, I'm sure.
Oh, good. Well, that's good. That's good. Well, I talk cat.
You cat guy?
Oh yeah, of course,
nice.
Of course. We have two, and one is a little lady, and one is they're both strays, but they've got it so good now, and this one. Maine Coon is just gigantic, and this is the cat that was starving and whatever, and couldn't even generate hair, and now it's a chunk size cat. Very prissy, very spoiled, and will look outside the window semi-wistfully and consider, relive its adventures, out in the wild. But boy, if the door stays open, he will not go out. He knows he's got it good. So yeah, cats rule. They're hysterical to me. I've never been a dog person. Not that I'm anti-dog, but okay, dogs are for people like, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. And cats are like, you're just so fascinating. I can stare at you for hours.
Why you do that? Well, and
how do you?
As a musician, a dog you have to be home to take out all the time.
Yeah,
cat, you can be like, the box is full. I'll get tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cats take care of themselves, and, I mean, I know they're as manipulative as hell, and they just, I know they're in their little brains, they're going, these furless bipeds. We have them, running around at our command, and it's okay. It's a codependent relationship, and that I'm willing to put up with. So.
Definitely, I feel it. Yeah, no, I got these two. They're brothers, and I think they were both strays, and they're in Bria APL or something, and they found them in a dumpster, and they're both like the sweetest two cats ever.
So, great, yeah.
That's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah, they look like, I got to see in the back they have all kinds of places to play and walk around. And,
yeah, no, I got it decked out in here, and usually this is the cat cave with the current living sitch, so make it as enjoyable as I can for them for the moment.
Yeah, that's great.
But anyway, are you still at the same? I read that you were in the Dahmer house.
Are
you still there?
Yeah. I'm actually speaking to you from the murder room. That was a long time ago. The house has got a fabulous vibe. My girlfriend and I have really, filled it with treasures and fun things, and we do a lot of work here. Yeah. She's a graphic designer and a photographer, and I got my little pile of whatever. I have some gear here, but most of it's down at a workspace in downtown Akron, and it's the only thing bothersome about it is that people still kind of want to stop and take pictures, and if there's one of those quote unquote educational channels runs a serial killer thing, we usually get a few more uptick in roadside photographers. But the vibe is great. It's a very nice house. It's mid-century modern, and the house didn't kill anybody. And get over it.
Definitely. Well, that's the thing.
And I'm not a ghoul. I didn't buy it because of that. I bought it because it was mid-century modern, and it didn't have a lawn to maintain, and it was far enough from neighbors to make a noise and not bother anyone. Because I had all my recording and playing instruments here, and bands would rehearse here, and I didn't want to bug anybody or have them bug me. Yeah. So I kind of like the fact that people are a little bit spooked about keeping the distance. Yeah. That's fine if that's what you want to do. If you believe in ghosts, in 2020, okay, my guess. But there ain't nothing here other than fun.
Yeah.
So,
well, it like you said, it's the house nail killing one. It's your spot.
Yeah.
And like you've been in it longer than they have. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's not the Dahmer house. It's our house.
It's your house. I read that. I was thinking about it. I'm like, man, I feel that same situation right now, trying to find a place where I can be loud. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's where you would end up going, a house that no one wants, and you're like, oh, sweet, it's gonna be it now. I can be loud, and no one's gonna call it. It's ideal for being a musician with multiple bands coming in or writing horn sections. Right. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You got to be able to scare the neighbors because of the sound.
Yes,
but
right.
They're terrified of it already.
Yeah, those weird noises that keep coming from that pad. I don't know. Keep away. Yeah, cool. Cool. Yeah, it's really nice. And if you're down here, stop in because you have some. You're more than welcome.
Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
You bet.
So now, you didn't grow up in Kent? You grew up in Akron, right?
Actually, I'm from Cleveland.
Cleveland.
I'm really old. So, in the 50s, we lived in the Hungarian part of Buckeye Road area.
Okay.
My mother's side is Hungarian, my father's side Italian, which is kind of right next to each other
Yeah.
in Cleveland. And then my father took us out to the eastern suburbs in mid to late 50s, and I went to Orange High School, and
Okay.
then went to Kent and stayed in Kent roughly 67 to 79-ish,
Yeah.
maybe 78, 79. No, that's not right. Maybe 77. But until I got kicked out of the numbers band, that's basically it. And then moved to the Tin Huey house in Akron, and then found a place in Akron, and then to New York in 1979, and back and forth ever since then. And then seriously considered Ohio when I bought this place in 2005, but was really blowing up cars on Interstate 80, going back and forth, and finally here officially since 2012 or so, 2014, something like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did with your family, with your parents, was there music in the family?
My mom was a piano teacher.
Yeah.
I tried desperately to play piano. I could play drums, I could play guitar, I could play bass, but I could not ever get, and I envy keyboard players because there's a thing. I love sitting down at the piano and figuring things out, but I cannot play a goddamn song. I just cannot get this thing, and it bothers me. I want to work on it. And my dad was in the big bands, and both the family listened to a lot of. I also brought up on musicals,
Okay.
the classic musicals, 50s and 60s. But when I started to play rock and roll, it was definitely not approved of, and I had to kind of buck it. And nothing really got serious until I went to Kent and was able to play, without restriction. I drums for my first instrument, which is revenge for them not liking rock and roll, because I would bash away in my bedroom and I'm sure drive them absolutely up the wall, which they deserved. Because of their contempt, I expressed my contempt with high volume drum playing. So
High volume drums and
I couldn't bring the drums down, so I got an electric guitar and then later a bass, and fooled around with that stuff. And but Kent was home for a long, long time, and I've blathered on in other interviews about how wonderful Kent was in terms of film and English department and music scene and the Water Street Strip and the Numbers Band as being inspirational. And it was such a rich environment to be in. And I'm just this jerk from east of Cleveland, and suddenly you're really getting a wonderful education in art and music and Bohemia, and it was fabulous until it wasn't, which of course was May 4th, 1970. And then, the shit hit the fan and everything changed, and you had to get serious about something. So
that had to be intense to be there. You were there, right?
Yeah, the guy I was with was killed, Jeff Miller, and he was a buddy of mine. And that was a dark day, as Jerry Casale from Devo says, the most Devo of all days. But that sent all of us artsy fartsy kids into, some kind of weird direction, because it was very hard to try and find a place for yourself in the society that and the economy that tried to kill you. So most of them went into the arts, and I say most. I'm talking about the guys from Devo and Chrissy Hind and Terry Hind, of course, still playing in the Numbers Band, and all the filmmakers like Chuck Statler, and I'm name dropping, but to make a point.
Well, that was your crew. It's not, those are the guys you ran with. It's not name dropping. That was the scene you're in. So
that was the scene I was fortunate enough to be in,
and that's a great scene.
Stress that enough. Richard Myers, the filmmaker, avant-garde filmmaker who put us all in his films and showed just all the classic experimental films and underground films, and it was just a wonderful environment to be in, and it still resonates with me in terms of this was a major cultural aesthetic influence.
Well, that's something. Some of those films or some of those pieces, whatever they may be, they resonate. You hit it. You get it hit with it at first, and it takes years to figure out what it is.
Isn't that true?
With some of the experimental films, it's you watch it over and over, and then you watch it. I have a buddy who's studying film at CSU, and I hang out with him, and he's like, "Oh, this is
right,"
and just you got to watch it like this. No, think about it like this, and then think about it in a 3-act structure. It changes. It changes a lot of things, like a lot of perceptions of how you think about things. So film's a huge thing. And what films were you in? You were in a few of them with your buddy, right?
Yeah, well, Richard Myers always, had students in his films. One called Akron, Akran, I believe, and cool. A few of the other ones. It was all very, very quickly done, and I'm not really sure what's going on, but I'm looking right now at a picture of myself painted silver with cardboard angel wings, because I had a representation of the spirit of hope, and somewhere else on the in the scene was the spirit of death, and so a little Bergman-esque stuff going on in there, and we're not really sure, because it was like Richard Myers' stuff was very image rich, and although he did do narrative things too, a lot of it is just pastiche and very interesting images layered in maybe non-linear storylines and things like that, and there was just a lot to get involved in that time period, and what wonderful stuff. Well, what about you? What are the things that have inspired you? Not just necessarily musically, which we could go on and on about, I'm sure, but things like literature and films and all of that. What tell me, please.
Man, as far lately, the last film I dove into was Joan of Arc, The Passion of Joan of Arc, the black and white film, right?
Right.
And Come and See. Have you seen that film?
No, I'm taking notes right now.
Okay, Come and See is like this Soviet war film, and it's intense, and but those are the last two films my friend told me to check out, and but just in one a local one, paper what's other not paper dolls, I can't think. It'll come back to me in the middle of it.
Sure.
From a local guy, and the non-linear storytelling isn't in those two that I mentioned, but the idea of that, right? So trying to figure that out, that takes how many listens through till you get that, or watching through, but by the time you get that and piece together that narrative, unless you dive into it, you've dissected that film in so many different ways, and it's a good brain exercise to try to figure stuff out like that.
I totally agree. Cleveland's so lucky to have Cinematique.
Definitely.
I wish. I used to try and get there, at least once every 2 weeks, just to see random. I don't even care what they're showing, just anything to get stimulus. And y'all got the Cedar Lee, which was
great.
Kicking right.
Definitely.
I can't wait for this damn pandemic to get over with and get some culture.
No, I totally agree with that. There's something just aesthetically pleasing with seeing a film with a group of people, even though you're not involved with them, they're there. You're going through this thing together, or going through an art gallery. That's one thing I miss, is going through art galleries. And I work at,
me too. Transformer Station. I got my membership card right
there
here.
you go. Boom.
In fact, a friend of mine is one of the owners of Laura Ruth. Not Ruth. She's married to. Come on, brain fart.
I feel it.
The fellow who owns us, the architect.
Have you ever been to Negative Space?
I heard of it. Short answer, no.
Okay. No, it's cool. It's a Superior and 38th above Asian Market. I've been working there for the last 4 years, putting together shows, and until now.
Oh.
But
Cool.
yeah, anytime you want to come, let me know, and we'll crack.
Oh yeah. Oh, you are obviously rich, rich into the scene, and gosh, I'm sorry, my brain is fried. But there was a great black box theater on the west side in it's the place that on the side Your Art Sucks. You're familiar with that? In Neon. It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a friend of ours was in the pit band for a bunch of shows, and I was knocked out by the live theater. We saw a bunch of musicals and some repertory stuff, and it was great. These actors are like, wow. I mean, ain't no needed to go to New York. I don't need no New York. I really miss getting Szechuan food at 2:00 in the morning. That's all. That's all I miss from New York.
New York, it's a whole nother time. Schedule. It works. I was talking to Don about it, and man, if you get a 9:00 set in New York, that's before the band shows up.
Yes, right, exactly.
In Ohio, you're that's solid. That's not too late. Not maybe 9, maybe 10. But you know what I mean? In New York, that's nothing.
That's nothing. That's they're still cleaning the glasses at the bar.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah. That's it. You're right. The time scale is completely different. And by the way, this brings up a pet peeve.
Yeah.
I have noticed something about audio engineers in northeastern Ohio. They like guitars. Yeah. And they put the guitars on top of the drums. And in New York, it's the other way around. It's drums. I have often been a pest. If I would go see somebody at one of the area clubs, Beachland, and just go to the board and just casually mention that, drums seem a little weak. You got plenty of guitars there, because I think it helps the performance. I mean, rock and roll is about drums as much as it is about anything else, and I think there's a regional style of mixing. It's just Cleveland is just guitar players. I mean, famous ones come out of Cleveland, right? And of course, so there's a skew. Things are skewed mix wise towards guitars. I go, no, drums, big drums.
When you think about it, that's what's going to move the people. You're going to move to the drums.
Yes.
You're going to move to the guitars.
Bass sells sex, and guitars sell beer. That's the formula.
that's the log line. That's good.
Right.
Nice. Yeah, it is weird now that I think about it. New York was strange because they always had the setup. You didn't bring anything really. You brought your axe, you brought your thing.
Yes.
But they had everything there, and they preferred it that way. They're like, nope, yes. I have a Fender amp too. Don't bring it in. Which makes sense with how it's laid out. You got public transit.
Well, it's also the economic. You have 5 or 6 friggin' bands on a night, but invariably, I played a lot of drums, and invariably the fucking drum kit is just trashed,
Yeah.
A guitar amp, it's going to be a Marshall or a Fender, and it'll either work or it won't.
Yeah.
But a drum kit is, usually bashed ahead. A few places have great kits. That's true. But most of it, also, I mean, it's also, there, you brought up an interesting thing, because one of my great tropes to keep blabbering about is the difference between what it's like to be a musician in New York and what it's like to be one in Northeastern Ohio.
Yeah.
In Northeastern Ohio, back in the day, not so much now maybe, because you'll have multiple bands on a bill. You had one band, and you played 3 1-hour sets.
Okay.
3 1-hour sets, and you hauled in your own PA. You go to New York, you play 45 minutes. At 45 minutes and 1 second, the audience's eyes are glazing over. Point being that when, why, from my era, why did the bands who went to New York, slay people? A lot of it had to do with the fact that we really worked, and we were used to playing, 3 sets 4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
And you get to Max's or CBGB, where it's 45 minutes, and it's like, we're gonna kill this, and so to me, that training is one strong reason why, you name it, Dead Boys, Perubu, Tin Huey had a great following in New York. Waitresses, when I put the Waitresses together, I specifically wanted people from the Midwest. I wanted transplants. And I was lucky to find people from Nebraska and Kansas and Chicago. The only native New Yorker was Tracy Wormworth, who joined us later on bass. Our original bass player was from Nebraska, because they're used to working, and they're used to, they had a work ethic. And when they decided to make the move from corn country to the big city, they woodshedded for 6 months to get ready for the big move, and so they really learned how to play. So I specifically wanted people from the Midwest.
Well, that
So
it makes, sorry, I didn't mean to cut. It makes sense because, like, in the Midwest, you have more places you can practice. You know what I mean? Compared to New York, so
you get a
can
house.
Really can really shed, and then come up to the gig with everything tip top.
Tin Huey had a house.
Yeah.
I bought this house because Tin Huey, one reason was because Tin Huey had kind of reformed in 2003, 2004. And I was very nostalgic about Mark Price's band house, which is on Oakdale in Highland Square. And the room I'm talking to you in was our rehearsal room.
Awesome.
Specifically, so you could come here anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, when you had a house, you would rehearse every night. Tin Huey would rehearse every night. Every night you're writing, or, we had an 8-track machine, so we could record. So, it was a full-time, the opportunity to do music was full-time. People had day jobs or whatever. But when you came home, you let tape roll, or you went down to the basement and started to bash around and come up with an idea or something like that.
Full-time practice.
Full-time practice. Can't do that in New York.
Definitely not. I mean, I guess you could write. You can write and mummer to yourself, but not with a band like Tin Huey. Like, that's a big band with a bunch of different parts, going on, and a bunch of different sounds, and which is awesome.
That's a good point. Tin Huey, we would joke that Tin Huey's style was to throw every possible instrument at a song as possible. There's always one too many people playing, but that's
awesome though. And, like, it's cool. It makes sense coming from, like, this art inspired background. You know what I mean? That you would experiment in that way. And like, as a side note before I get into that, was Harvey rusted?
I'm sorry?
Harvey rusted? Was Harvey rusted? No, it was Harvey tin I can't remember.
Harvey Gold.
Yeah, it was his tin rusted. I can't remember. That's the bit, right? For where the name came from.
For
Tin Huey.
I heard the order. Okay, I think Oh, good question, and you're not far off. You're not
All right.
far off. I thought it was a goof on Steely Dan,
Oh, okay.
Tin Huey, but no. It turns out that they were all, shall we say, under the influence of controlled substances, bashing away in Mark Price's basement, and Michael Aylwar's brother came in wearing a studded jacket, metal studded jean jacket, and some wit cracked, "Oh, here comes Tin Huey." His name is Huey Aylward. That's
that makes more sense.
I'm told that that's the origin. So yes, you're right. There is metal involved, but anyway, that's as I understand it, that's the origin myth of the name. I just thought it was a smart goof on Steely Dan.
I didn't put that together. I think that's I like thinking that it's a smart goof on Steely Dan a little bit more. It sounds a little more like make it poking out. I don't know. It's like a avant-garde version, like whatever. Like, but those guys, so they were playing while you were playing with the Numbers Band, right? In Kent, and you're like living above a pizza shop, and that's where you're meeting some of these guys, right? So with the Numbers Band, how'd you get involved with that? Because
I was a pest. When they were playing as far back as the Cove, before the Cove burned down, they would do a Bo Diddley song, and I would shove my way on stage to play maracas, and I was just in awe of that band, and as well. Listeners, they are in their 50th year. They're still playing. They are marvelous. They are a national treasure, and it's right in your backyard for like $5 cover. So if you don't know them, if you don't go to them, I will not speak to you ever again. They are the best you can find in the area. Anyway, eventually they were at their peak, and this excellent bass player named Drake Gleason decided to quit. And Bob called and said, and by the way, I was playing guitar, but I had a bass. And he said, we need a bass player. Come on down. So I played, I auditioned. I got the gig, and I had 3 great years with them. And you have not lived as a musician until you played in the Numbers Band, or at least a band that is based on improvisation. It's all heads up playing. We all know how the song would go, but Bob is like Muddy Waters in terms of a band leader, where if he wants to go 13 bars on a 12-bar blues, if he wants to change the lyric, if he wants to do something, he's reading the audience, right? If he wants to extend a vamp, if he wants to, throw you a solo, you got as long as you want, but you better say something, or he'll pull the plug, and it's just so exciting and so stressful, and because he's a motherfucker. He has a work ethic that is on beyond my work ethic. He ran the band like a factory, and a factory aesthetic, because he's working class, and it's a job, and you will make rehearsals 4 times a week, and you will be on time, and you will look good, and you will kill every night. And that's a wonderful training ground. And that's how I got fired, because I began to write songs, and Stiff Records came to town and wanted to do an Akron compilation. And I had this fake band called the Waitresses, and they needed photographs. And so I cut rehearsal to get my quote unquote band's picture taken, which was just a bunch of friends. Because there was no band. And that was one of the reasons why I got fired. You do not cut rehearsal. You better be, in jail or in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I mean, I played numbers band shows with 103-degree temperature. I played numbers band shows sitting in a chair because I had been in a car accident and ripped my knee open. You do not
show up. Damn.
Yeah, you show up.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, there's something. One thing I found really interesting about the numbers band is the number itself, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And like how that it relates to this form of blues from out, like it's from a book or something, right? And like, it's super interesting, like how you're saying, like he'll make a 12-bar blues into a 30. You read that crowd, which keeps it exciting as a fan to see. You're like, oh, we're in it with them. And in the band, I can see, like, you practice this thing. Oh, at the end of the thing, he's going to go to the thing. But now that thing's different, so I can see where it's super exciting. You follow him into wherever it goes, and like tidal wave, it's either going to crash or land. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
But there's something with the forms that's so cool with that band.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. By the way, 15, 60, 75, the origin, as I understand it, downtown, they have a thing called the Dream Book. And the Dream Book is usually sold right at the cash register of a bodega. The idea being, and it's updated, the idea being that if you have a dream that has certain imagery and you check for the imagery, and that's you get a number, and that's the number you play for the numbers.
Okay.
So 15, 60, 75 was either, depending on which story, or maybe they're both true or not, it was either highly sexual or it was a success, or the numbers came in on that day, either 15 to 60 or 75 came in when they were pulling, trying to put a name together. And it's from the Dream Book, as I understand.
Okay.
So.
That's
pretty cool. But you're right. It's also 1-4-5 blues progressions, right?
Yeah, yeah. I just thought that was, once I figured that out, I'm like, oh, that's such a cool name. And like the idea of having these numbers as opposed to like having like a name.
Another the band.
Yeah, no one's got numbers.
I never wanted to be in any more. I don't want to be in any more the bands. No more the.
Yeah, that concept's been run. Did you play the Bob Marley gig at the Agora with the numbers band?
No, see, a good point, because that's super interesting to me and part of my history.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, and but I from that gig came their album, Jimmy Bell's Still in Town.
The live one.
Right, and that's when the bass player would quit, and they had boxes of records and didn't kind of know what to do with them. And I volunteered to, all right, I'm going to figure this out. And it's trying to sell their record is how I learned something about the record business, and rack jobbers in Cleveland, who the distributors were, and I began to send them out to A&R people, and I began to read Billboard and whatnot to try and learn something about the record business and music publishing. And excuse me, and it's all goes back to my trying to flog this wonderful record, which is one of the great live records of all time. Agreed?
Yeah, no, definitely. I went since I reached out, I went through a crash course of just about everything I can get a digital copy of to listen beforehand, and that one definitely. That you can feel it. You can feel the crowd vibing with that one, and like,
isn't it great? Isn't it great?
Good. It's so good.
It's so good.
And like,
what
blew my mind is, after reading about it, like, okay, that was a Bob Marley crowd. And they're going hard, man. Like, they're into it.
Yeah.
Not that like, you know what I mean? Like that's a different. I mean, it fits. It makes sense. Bills back then are so interesting. The local bands that would get on it. You don't really see a lot of touring acts. Like that level, they don't really bring the local cats on as much. It's a lot of just like who's on that tour with them.
Yes.
So
now it's a package, right?
Yeah,
right,
yeah. That's super interesting though, that you learn the works that way, trying to sling the record.
Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was all very connected. I sent a copy. I was a big fan of television. I read that Karen Berg had signed television when she was at Epic. Then she went to Warner's. And I did send her a copy. She said, "This is good. Can you come to New York?" Numbers Band with a grumble because we had a steady gig. We decamped for one weekend. Yeah. She didn't show. She was in LA. Come back, but later she signed to Huey.
Yeah.
And then later still, I asked her if she wanted to sign the Waitresses. She said, no, we have a quota, and we met our quota for this quarter, but I'm going to call my friend Jerry Jaffe at Polygram and recommend that he take a look at you, and then here's his number. So it was Jerry Jaffe that signed the Waitresses through ZE.
That first single, records. Right?
Yeah. Exactly. So things that started with Numbers Band, kind of carried on and continued when I moved to New York, and that was again another kind of huge education related to the Numbers Band. In fact, when we're done, I'm going to go over to Bob Kidney's, and we're going to give him
nice.
Christmas presents. So
cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, we still are buds.
Good.
Love him.
Was there a I think to kind of talk about the whole process of that, it's amazing that it's 2%, right? There's 2% of actual music playing in the music career. The other 98% is doing what you're talking about.
It's paperwork.
It's paperwork.
I just did that today. I had two. I had something that I had to make sure that my paperwork, because it was a union. It was a union recording, so I had to take care of AFM stuff and SAG-AFTRA stuff. And then since there were multiple things, then I had to copyright it, and I went through the copy. That took 2 or 3 hours just out of today. Yeah. Yes, it's paperwork stuff. Oh, and then send it to a publishing administrator of mine, and they have to, then they have to do their paperwork, and it's and now if you add it. Now you add, and I'm not very good at it, and you sound like you're much, much better than I, self-promotion, because now you have to, feed the Facebook page, feed Instagram, feed Twitter, make content, maintain your guest your fan base, and you are now a totally self-contained entity that has to do, as you say, 98% of the outside promotional stuff, and it is very much a career now, isn't it? Yeah,
you're taking every angle, and I think it's interesting how. Now that falls on you, right? So now, like the individual, you have to do the whole thing, which is it's probably better in some degree because you can control it all. You get to be like, this is I said this, I didn't rewrite it, but it's also a lot to figure out, and it's weird because only 2% making and playing music, and that's the whole thing.
Hats off to you, because you're juggling work, you're juggling your band, you're juggling all the things that you mentioned that you're involved in, and you are one screamingly busy cat right now. That's something. Yeah, it actually all kind of started
from you.
Yeah. Well, no, look at you, man. Hats off. It all started, in 60s and 70s when, record companies were all, I'm an A&R guy. These are the songs you're going to do. We control. And I think it was Jefferson Airplane on RCA that said, nope, we want approval for our graphics, and we want, approval for, we want the control of this, control of that. And the record companies fought it. And then they said, wait a minute. These knuckleheads want to do all this work. Okay. It's all go right ahead, and that classic example and the most brilliant example is Devo, because when they would come up with, they wouldn't just come up with a record, they would go to the record company and say, okay, here's our look, for this tour.
Yeah.
Here are the graphics for this release. Here are the ads, because they were all graphic artists. Here are the ads and the artwork and everything. And they actually rubbed the record company the wrong way, because they had it so worked out and so complete that the executives whose job it was to do that stuff were wondering, well, what do I do? What am, these upstart lunkheads from Ohio, a bunch of spuds. So they had a little trouble with that. Because they were so good at it. Anyway, that's just a little story, but congratulate. You want artistic freedom? Congratulations, you got it.
Yeah, and it's great. It's a lot, and but I think it's good. And I think it acts like Tin Huey and Devo and these you guys that were doing it your own way.
Peruba is another example.
Peruba, yes,
like,
of course.
Complete package, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm not trying to. But there's so many unique and cool bands that have paid their own way, and part of that had to come from okay, you make this because everyone seemed to get signed off the rip, like when Devo and all the bands out of the Crypt, right? Where I think part of that was on the I couldn't find the name of it, but the zine you wrote, right?
Say again.
You wrote a zine about Huey.
Called Blank. Yeah.
What was it called?
Blank.
Blank.
It was called Blank. Yeah, I had a zine there. I had a zine because we weren't covered by the scene. Akron. The scene at the time was all Cleveland, and we weren't, being covered in Akron. And I decided, well, this is it's all DIY, so I'm going to DIY. I'm going to start my own magazine, and I'm going to write a letter to Robert Christgau at the Village Voice, who just wrote this thing about going to England and seeing all the scene of the punks. And I wrote a letter to him, and in fact, it's funny, the letters at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Ohio exhibit. I said, well, all very well and good, sir, but you should get your ass to Akron, Ohio, because there's stuff going on here that you need to know about, sir. And that's kind of how it helped Tin Huey get signed, because he came, he saw, he liked it, he wrote an article, then he told Karen Berg, about it. And then Karen Berg came, and then Karen told her boss, Jerry Wexler, and then they came again. We had 2 weeks to put these shows together, and oh my God, it was amazing. I just joined, actually. I was only in the band less than a month, and then all this started, and we had to go to JB's, go to Joe Bujak. Joe Bujak, yeah, Chris, what? Now you become big fuck rock and roll star? Not like Joe Walsh, that fuck Joe Walsh. He won't come back, play my club. Chris, now you're going to become big rock star. You don't come back and play JB's anymore, right? Right? Okay, Chris, we can give you a gig. You scramble together and put a PA system together and put up posters, and because if I said there's a scene here, there better be a scene.
Gotta make a scene.
Oh, okay, all right, do it.
That's the
and then
DIY punk thing ever.
and then so people come, and we have a show, and then it's done, and then we get a phone call. Karen Berg wants to come. It's, Joe, can we get a Chris, I tell you, you're going to become big rock star, you fuck. You're going to be like that fuck Joe Walsh. Never come down. Never come back and play my club. He don't remember. You going to remember me, Joe Bojak? You going to remember? Chris, I don't think so. I think you're going to be a fuck too. And then we had to do it again when Jerry Wexler came, And Chris, what now? 3 times? 3 times I got to bump glass harp or something for you. What? I got to bump. I don't know. I don't know who's even playing. I don't want. What? You need another date? Okay, all right. But don't be like that fuck Joe Walsh. You don't come back and play my club.
That's awesome. That's like an SNL bit.
It's true.
But that had to be 3 great nights for him.
Yeah. Yes, it was. So what? What about tomorrow? What you going to do for me next week, Chris? Chris, I don't know, Chris. I don't know.
That's awesome. What was it like? How was dealing with Jerry?
Well,
Because he's a pretty big
what do you
figure.
do in front of one of the gods of music?
Yeah.
It was very good. It was very scary because Jerry Wexler, basically developed R&B,
Yeah.
the name, and Atlantic Records for white people. Right? This is one of the gods. This is one of the great gods of recording in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And it was kind of wonderful. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
We were signed by the East Coast office, and we didn't know that the East Coast and the West Coast of Warner Brothers, they had contempt for each other. And the center of the record company was, in fact, West Coast, and we were these idiots, signed by the East Coast, and we got some love, but we also got. I'm talking about Tin Huey now. We also got short shrift on a lot of things. We were going to be on Saturday Night Live, and one of the execs, Ted Templeman, said, no, I need that slot, because SNL would rotate labels every week. He said, no, I got this protege. I want that slot. And so, the world could have found out about Tin Huey instead of this, I don't know, fake beatnik chick named Ricky Lee Jones.
All right. Well. Oh,
that's show business, baby.
Oh, that's so rough, though. Did you guys, what, because, all right, when that record came out, right?
We're not even talking about the Waitresses.
We're talking Tin Huey. We've been bouncing around, but that's that kind of. It seems like that's how you've been handling it the whole time. Like, right? Like, were you with Tin when? Okay, so you made this fake promo for the Waitresses, which is why you got out of the numbers, and then got into Tin Huey, and weren't they playing JB's like underneath? When the whole Jerry record, because you were trying to get Jerry to go check out the number band.
Absolutely, we were, and he would not. And Bob, Bob and I had a problem for a couple decades there because he had a lot of contempt for Tin Huey. They wear clown masks and they got a fucking electric lamp goose on the stage. No dignity. But we tried very hard to get Jerry Wexler down, because thinking that this is the thing he's going to really like.
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't go.
He's the sole guy. Go. Was it the stairs? Like what? Why you're here? Why?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not interested in that stuff anymore. He says, "Oh man, come on, you invented it."
Yeah.
Well, I guess that was a heartbreaker. That was a heartbreaker. I mean, that's one thing about scenes. Yeah. It's interesting. We're all brothers and brotherly love until somebody gets a record deal, and then it all goes south. Right.
Yeah. Man. Well, it's beautiful that you guys are cool.
Don't get a record deal unless you're absolutely completely ready for it. Hey, kitty.
Yeah, I told you it would come.
By the way, a cat has just joined the discussion. I'm sure that they have comments here, right?
Noodle.
Yeah, so don't get a record deal until you have a following, you have all your business straight. In fact, to that effect, I have this thing called the Akron Music Awards. Now it's based very much on what's going on in your neck of the woods, which is the Panzer Foundation. And John Panzer has been a wonderful asset and helper into helping me set this up in our little scene here. If you're not aware of the Panzer Foundation, they adopt 4 bands a year. Mm-hmm. They give them a stipend. They help with whatever it is they need. If it's legal stuff, if it's a cheap place to buy T-shirts, if it's equipment repair. And they adopt them and stay with them for a year. And I did a version of that starting in March, and then of course, everything went to hell. But I'm working in the background to try and keep our clubs open. We have a little fund, and I'm paying the BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC licensing fees for the venues in Cleveland. I paid for 3 of them already, and I'm trying to return my call. A few of the other live venues to keep to keep them open until this runs its course. But all these clubs have to pay a licensing fee to the performance rights organizations in order to play music, play live music or record the music for that matter. But some of these fees are, thousands of dollars. And if the venues, they can't get out of this, by the way. So not only do they have, they're going through terrible times in terms of, laying off staff and, the bands can't play, but they have these fixed fees that they have to pay. And as I said, we had a little fundraiser and whatever, and a generous donation from a party, and I'm paying their BMI, ASCAP, and CSAC fees so they could at least not have that expense to worry about.
That's awesome.
Well,
was it a Grog, Beachland, and somewhere else? Because I was working with
no, that's the Panza. That's Panza's territory for us.
Okay. You're talking Akron. Gotcha.
Yeah, Tiki Underground, Old 97, Jilly's Music Room, and there are two other venues that I'm in touch with in terms of they're figuring out what their bills are going to be, and I'll pay them. We will pay their fees too, just to try and keep them open.
Yeah, it's important. We me and a buddy of mine. So for teaching online, I was trying to figure out how to do it, and I learned how to do all the streaming stuff and. I got a buddy who's a sound tech, so we've been streaming for the Beachland and the Grog Shop and doing all that. We fell into that, right? And it's so important to have that and keep those venues there, because as a music teacher, why am I teaching this if you can't eventually go somewhere and do it and get opportunity from it or opportunity to express yourself? So like my band Sea Level, we just did a 10-year anniversary. And we played the Beachland and the Grog before everything shut down, and it was like a big donation thing.
Wow.
And it ended up being pretty successful. We sold out both nights, COVID nights, so it was like one halfway decent night, but it was still pretty sick. So that's so awesome that you're doing that.
Well, I might want to follow up because Jilly's has done some streaming things, but I might want to bug you off, Mike,
sure.
Later on about how you set that up. And I know Cindy Cindy runs the Beachland.
Yeah, Cindy's the best.
Probably be helpful for me and John Panza as well. But I have to do something like that here because more needs to be done. Bands have played streaming shows, but. And they were, I think, done as fundraisers, but I'm not sure about that. But you saw, again, we're a much smaller scene than you folks are. I've also done some behind-the-scenes stuff we have an incredible circuit for house concerts, and it's a regular stop on that circuit. And some of the bands that have come out of our house concerts are now international, and they don't play these local clubs. They play the house concerts. And I've been in touch with some of those folks, and some of them needed like a PA upgrade or something. And again, we have a little bit of a discretionary fund, and we can help with getting extra mics or updating this and updating that. And
what are some of the house spots like Hive Mind?
Hive Mind? Well, Hive Mind is gone, and I kill myself because I could have taken over the lease. Hive Mind was wonderful.
It was a cool spot.
Yes, I did buy actually some things for Hive Mind before even this.
That's so badass.
Akron Musical.
So cool.
Oh yeah.
The house venues are like the next, like that's almost more important than the venues, because before you even get the encouragement to go to the venue and deal with all the that 98% of the bullshit with filling out the papers. That's where you just get and do it and meet people, and like that's so important. And I think that's okay. He's out of here. Okay.
Hey, kitty. Yeah, the house concert stuff. I've just started in that scene, but man, they've been going for 10, 15 years. And I remember seeing one wonderful house concert with a band called House Guests, which is just fantastic. This was years ago when I just kind of began to really move here. And, just fabulous, fabulous venues, great performers. I mean, it's rich. And these people are wonderful, but they're dead in the water too, so, can't wait. Wear a mask, get your shots, get this over with.
Do the thing.
It's fucking over with. Do the
It's
right
not that
thing.
hard. Just put the thing on so we can hang out.
Put the thing on, right? You can be clever with the design.
Right?
Don't be one of those, proud boy douchebag, whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
People, no. Come on. Come on,
I had a student tell me the day that I look better with my mask on.
No, yeah, thanks, kid.
Yeah.
The proverbial backhanded compliment. Right. And so do you, Junior.
Oh, that's funny. Did you with playing with like Tin Huey, when you guys toured, did you do a lot of house type gigs? Or, like when you
We did a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
We didn't tour enough. Tin Huey is a whole nother story.
It's a big group, so it's hard to like.
It's a big group and
you're
all that.
signed.
Yeah, and so we did some good, the best, absolute fabulous thing and a treat, and it kind of set the stage again for other things as we got to open for television at the bottom line for 3 nights. And when it was their last shows, they were going to break up, and so they, now this is again a miraculous improvisational band, right? And 2 shows a night, so we got 6 shows of television where they didn't give a damn, and they're going to do whatever they want, and they're going to take things as far out as they could possibly go, and it's absolutely wonderful. That was a huge treat because I got to meet all of them and become friends with them, and Billy Thicka, when we needed a drummer, joined the Waitresses, and I played drums for Richard Lloyd for a while.
Yeah, and it's like a second solo record.
Yeah. And I can't say I'm friends with Tom Blank because he's kind of a very private, standoffish person, but I can say hi and on the street and get acknowledged. And Fred Smith is, a most solid cat. And when I was living upstate, he was upstate as well, and he and his wife have a wine business where they make their own labeled wine, and they're blenders, and they're absolutely fabulous wine. And he's an electronic tech, and if something was screwy with my junk when I was up there, he was more than generous, and
that guy's
a wonderful,
important.
solid. Yeah, and so Tin Huey, really got a wonderful thing happened to us
that's so
to
awesome.
do that. So, but touring, the Waitresses were much more jump in the van and play anywhere, everywhere, and basically we because I Know What Boys Like was getting airplay at college radio, so we would play every college that spun the record, and we were able to cover a lot of terrain because there are a lot of colleges. College radio at the time was as influential. Well, certainly it was the only way to go for new wavy type bands, because if we were not we had one song, which is different than some of the more commercial new wave bands. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was like, it's right. You're right. The Waitress had multiple songs when the Christmas one came out. And
Yeah. We did okay, and then it all thing blew up, which is a whole other story, maybe for another time. But
that No Guilt tune's always been one of my favorite Waitresses.
Oh, thank you.
That's a
thank
jam.
you. Thank you. I'm sincerely saying thank you, because I Know What Boys Like presented women in a shall we say controversial, non-Me Too way. Yeah. But I thought, okay, I got to balance this, or all my female friends are going to hate me, or this is not really kind of where I want to go. And the No Guilt song, the B-side, this is more of a human type person, balanced, and from that, the writing goes like, okay, I'm going to develop this person more, not we're going to leave the cock chaser image, that's done. Let's round out the picture, round out the character with as much as I could learn from my female friends about this is how women think and feel, and it was education for me.
Well, and just to get in the mindset of writing in a character like that, and like, or for a performer, really, it's really interesting because it puts you in that you're fully experiencing that to some degree, right? When you're writing it, because you're learning that perspective as well as trying to express it. And you wrote pretty much everything for the Waitresses.
Yeah.
So and the fact that it came from this fictional idea to begin with, when you're doing all these other projects, is amazing. So the conceptualize it, write it, and bring it to reality, and then find the players that were willing to do it. That's such that's more than 98% of not doing the music thing and just putting all this effort into it. But it's done so well, and the message seems like, if I didn't read the credits and just heard the record, I would assume she was writing. You know what I mean? Just because of how well it matches to that person. You did a good job with it.
Thank you.
That's all I'm trying to say with that.
I tried like hell. We were a kick-ass live band. In case anybody, there is a King Biscuit Flour live disc from my father's place, if anybody gives a damn. We were a kick-ass live band. It was really great musicians. And that was both two-sided, because they were such good musicians that I was really scared that whatever I would write would not hold their interest. And I had to build in improvisational sections. And I took a lot of Tin Huey-ness and numbers band-ness and translated into a Waitresses show. And there were open spaces, and there was, I'm not sure how this song is going to be loose, and let's see what happens. And so I really had it was a difficult brief to try and keep the character going, to not appease, but to satisfy and stimulate really good players who could go anywhere and be with anyone, and also to try and keep our job, which is to sell some records and be poppy. Which is always easy. It was tough.
Even like with what boys like, there's that tension. It's not all bubble. You know what I mean? There's that new wavy, it's kind of got the ska bit to it, but
it does.
It's got that crunch. It's got the art coming into it.
And I gotta say, it's got some funk. And
it definitely does get some funk.
I gotta say, if you sit down and try and play it, it is a rather sophisticated piece of pop doodle cheese. It's a sophisticated piece of music. By the way, I hate to say this, but I have like 10, 15 more minutes.
Cool.
And then I gotta go.
Totally fine. I really appreciate your time. I've been
keep going, but just I'm giving you a deadline.
No, thank you. So with the kind of touch on something else with the Waitresses, with Holly, she eventually stepped in for like a slight bit. So writing for this one particular person and trying
didn't have a chance.
Was that just it? It just fit the mold before.
Disaster.
Okay,
that was a disaster.
That'd be hard for someone to step in to something that's been completely designed around one person.
Well, it was. Boy, I don't want to get libelous here, but sorry, libel is in print. Slander is. Yeah, okay, slander is here. Now, basically, we did a couple shows. I thought she was great. This was going to work. She's a writer. She's got guitar chops, keyboard chops, and then we had this show in New York at Columbia University with 600 people, and she no-showed. And
got that numbers mentality.
Well, no, she just no-showed. Then a couple days later, she said, "I'm sorry, I just couldn't do it." Well, I found out she had a few substance problems and other problems, and that kind of killed it for me. So she's not number one on my hit parade as a person. I guess she continued on, did electronic music, that's DJs, cool. Whatever.
Good.
Hooray, good for her.
So kind of going off the electronic bit, the Devil's Glitch. Sticking with the pop thing, how did that come to even be an idea to do this Guinness Book of Records breaking
glitch.
long pop song? And then there's the major glitch, which is even longer. But where did this thing come from?
Oh, and now it's the infinite glitch because it plays forever. Okay. I wrote a song called Double Glitch, which is basically me, grumping about, me, not being able to fix things mechanical, or, having my ATM card being eaten and just having a real bad tech day, right? Everything goes wrong. And how the person I most respect is somebody who can fix things. And there's the way the song is structured, there's a repeat, there's a breakdown, and then there's kind of a Rolling Stones ramp up at the end with 12 repeats of these couplets. Sometimes you can fix something by blah, 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 whatever. There's 12 of them. And I played it for a friend of mine, Nick Berezanski. And I don't remember whether he said it or I said it. He said, because I was sheepish about the length. And he goes, oh, no. Or one of us. I'm glad to credit him. It's fine. Anyway, it was said in the room, probably with the song isn't that it's too long, it's that it's too short. What if you just kept going? And I thought, well, that's a hoot and a half. I love pranks like this. And I sat down and I wrote another 10 or 12 couplets. And then I wrote another 50 more. And then I wrote another 100 more. And then pretty soon I had 500 couplets. And okay, well, wouldn't it be hoot to try and record this? And so my good friend, Hoboken engineer Scott Anthony, was this was pre-Pro Tools, but there was a company called DAW, Digital Audio Workstation Incorporated, and Scott was a beta site for DAW's program development. And we thought, well, let's stress the hell out of this with this project. We recorded all those 500 verses with a click track and an acoustic guitar background in 20-minute chunks on ADATs. ADAT being Alesis digital audio tape format that was very popular in the early 90s, and everybody had ADAT machines. It was a digital tape recording system that recorded on VHS tapes, big cartridges, but it was a super successful platform, around the world. So I thought, okay, let's bust up 2 or 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute chunks of that long thing, put it on an ADAT, give them a click track, give them an acoustic track, and send the tape to people around the world and say, you do the backing track and get it back to me. And thankfully, people did. And we glued this whole thing together, straining the computer, straining this program, on the phone with the developer saying, okay, this thing is, at the time it was 85 minutes long, you can't handle this, anyway, but yeah, we had to cut it down in order to fit on a CD because of one of the original 5-minute version. So we had to cut it down to 69 minutes and put it on a CD. And then the people who were pissed about being cut. Yeah. And I understand that. Or how come you didn't ask me? I wanted to do one. Okay. Well, time goes on, and now we have the internet. Yeah. Where there is no time restriction. Aha. So I was able to edit back everything in. And then people who said, hey, I really want to do, something. Well, fine, bring it. Well, now it's over 4.5, 5 hours long. It's on the web. It's at infiniteglitch.net. That's all one word, infiniteglitch.net. And this is an open call. Please, if you are interested in contributing a chunk, please do contact me through this podcast. And if you go to the site, there are tools for you. There's the click track. There is the acoustic track. There's some words that nobody has used. But the best thing is for you to come up on your own. Now, all you got to do is come up with lyrics that go, sometimes you can fix something by and then fill it out with your life experience. That's the key. Or it can be funny or whatever, but you need to finish the couplets, record it, put a backing track, whatever it is. I don't care. Tune vacuum cleaners, kazoos, whatever, nothing, crickets, I don't care. Your favorite bird calls, whatever. Send it to me, and we'll glue it on in. And because it's too short, it's 5 hours. It's still too short. Now, okay, so Flaming Lips did something that's 24 hours. No, they didn't. That's not a song in America. A song is a lyric and a melody. And lucky for you, it's a 2-note melody. So, no, that does not qualify as a long song. Now, Guinness has retired the category. I did get a Guinness Book of World Records for the world's longest pop song, recorded pop song. Okay, and it's on my wall. But I'm sorry, Flaming Lips, that's not a song. Some really great, long instrumental jam. That is not a song. That's instrumental. Okay, so open call. If you're listening to this, come on. It's too short. Give me chunks.
I'll put a link.
It's got to be longer.
I want more people to do that.
I want more people to do it. I want it to contain the sum total of human knowledge.
Yeah. Well, after one point, it's going to be human experience and some degree.
That's right.
That's
Right.
awesome.
I mean, we have John Cage's piece, right? And like a month ago or so, they just actually changed the note. It's supposed to go for 600 years?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. That's wonderful. Love it.
It's
not a song. It's not a song.
There's a
song
difference
is
between the bass and the song.
Melody and lyrics.
That's so sick. Oh, man. I'm going to try to rope some students into doing that. Now that I know it's an open invite.
Please.
Oh, man,
it would be so much fun.
But 2 more questions.
Okay.
Are we out? Okay.
No, keep going.
Okay. The DBs, and I want to know a little bit about Ralph Carney.
Okay. DBs. All right. Wonderful. Recorded Bearsville. Chris Stamey had quit. Peter Hosapple was now the main songwriter. He had wonderful songs, but Chris was the arranger and very studious, and so they had a hole to fill, and it was very difficult to make the record, and it took a lot of time, but they did come up with a wonderful record called Like This, and I think it's a monumental achievement of theirs. I had a couple run-ins with the studio owner, which is Albert Grossman. I had a bigger run-in with Todd Rundgren, who was up there, because Albert and Todd were like enemies. Todd was in, Albert was in Bearsville, and Todd was over there. And if you worked for Todd, you couldn't work for Albert, and they hated each other. And next thing I know, in the middle of a recording, Todd Brumby gets hired by Albert to be the A&R guy for Bearsville. And suddenly I'm accountable not just to Albert, who's very curious. Albert Grossman is known as the Blue Jean Buddha. Albert Grossman was Bob Dylan's manager. Albert Grossman was Jimi Hendrix's manager. Albert Grossman was notorious.
Yeah.
Notorious, shall we say, well, I'll use the Yiddish word, Ganef, means thief. A very hard person to deal with, and could care less about the music. Chris, at the time, he said, Chris, I thought I'm all excited about making this record, Albert. And he goes, Chris, all I care about anymore are restaurants and wood. Yeah, okay. So Todd butts in and doesn't like, we finished the mixes with a wonderful engineer, Michael Frondelli. Todd doesn't like the mixes. Now, Todd takes the master tape and throws up a couple faders and goes, it should sound like that. Sound like shit. Now, what you don't know about Todd, but God, is that when he made records for other people, whether it's
Meatloaf.
He's very Meatloaf or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, these are amazing. That's whatever you think of Meatloaf or whatever. But everything he did, except for XTC, everything he did was remixed by someone else because he would lose interest, or he just the creative thing, the recording thing what he loved.
Yeah.
Mixing, tiresome. So here's a guy telling me to remix the record. Thanks, buddy. Anyway, that ended not particularly well, but the record is great, and the original mixes are out there, and those aren't Todd's mixes on the record; another person's mixes. But it's a great record. They're great guys, still friends with Peter Holsapple and Ralph Carney. Ralph Carney. What can I say? This guy. I met him when I think he was 20. He had just joined in Huey, and I remember seeing him at JB's. And this is a guy who could play anything. Now, please understand, there are a lot of talented musicians who can play multiple instruments within a family of it, like all the reeds or all the keyboards or strings. No, cross-platform, anything with a string. You hit it, you blow into it, you pluck it. He can do anything on any instrument. Amazing. Crazy guy, wonderful guy. Ultra silly, ultra serious. This is a studious jazz musician who can be as corny and cornball and off the wall as possible. You don't get that, in any one human being. Our last thing together was he called 4 or 5 years ago and said, hey, we got to do a project. And people have been bugging me for years to do, you had such success with Christmas wrapping, maybe you should do more holiday songs. But, nah. But so we did holiday songs, but offbeat holiday songs. Salami Appreciation Day, Penguin Awareness Day, and did it by passing tapes back and forth. And pretty soon we had 16 tracks, silly stuff, fun. And then he falls down the stairs, cracks his head, and is gone. And man, that's a huge hole to fill. He was really something as a guy, as a musician, really missed. And now we've ended on a downbeat thing. But
I was going to say, Don spoke highly of him, which is why I wanted to ask you about it.
Yeah, last couple of days, that's the 3rd anniversary of this. And all our friends are posting remembrances, on
an upbeat of it, Easy Life was somehow right. What was it, like a fundraiser for him, right? Or did I read that wrong?
No, but there were other things that we did that were fundraisers. Yeah. Now, Easy Life is thank you for even bringing it up. It's a separate project.
It's a great record.
Thank
it's on
you.
Bandcamp. I really like the ones with the spoken word in between it. I like that take.
Thank you. Easy Life is me reminiscing and telling the story of what it was like to be an artsy-fartsy kid at Kent. And all the songs are based on that. And there's narration. I got to perform it once. I'd like to do it again. We're going to do it for the 50th on last May 4th, but, everything was canceled.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do it again. The companion piece to that is a record called Got It Together with the word together misspelled on purpose.
Yeah.
And that's me as an adult. So I consider them like a diptych. This is me as a kid and this is me as an old fart. So
both sides of the coin.
Yeah, their companion piece.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Do you have one more question?
Yeah.
Do you have one more question?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, side note, trying to think of an upbeat thing. Did you ever find the Baby Blue? The guitar? Yep.
Yes. Right. Yes, Baby Blue. Baby Blue was in Brussels. Baby Blue is hanging on my wall.
Beautiful.
Baby Blue is a Robin's Egg Blue Vox Mark III electric guitar, and it was sold in 1987, and I bought it back in 1997 by going to Brussels, Belgium, and purchasing it from the woman, very sweet woman, Christine Moss, who had purchased it, was interesting, and it finally is time to sell it. So it's awesome. On my wall. Of course, there's another switched to it. Yeah, made it home.
That's
Made
so
it home.
awesome. Well,
It's on the wall. I
thank
just
you.
played it the other day. It's still obnoxious sound.
It's easy.
Sounds great through a Marshall. Sounds great.
Most
The
things
Christmas
do.
wrap. That's the guitar on Christmas wrapping, and I had never played a Marshall. I was a Fender guy, and
Yeah.
and it was
That's a
like
change.
I was poor.
That's it.
I got a 40 used twin. That was it.
Yeah.
Marshall was for hard rockers. And I played it through a Marshall. It's like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah,
For sure. All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much. This has been a blast. I've been reading about you and digging into your stuff for the last few weeks when I've been talking to Don and Glenn. Don and Glenn. So to actually get to talk with you has been awesome. So thank you so much. I really appreciate this.